Eeries too. Sonic Sloth posters offer high-definition digital files of classic horror, cult, sci-fi and fantasy film posters. All the files are 300 dpi and the colours, sharpness and clarity have been enhanced to ensure they'll look beautiful on your walls. You'll receive a digital file big enough to print 26 by 39 inches without any pixelation. And as a special treat for Eerie ASMR viewers, they have provided a 25% discount code for the whole store. Just enter Eerie ASMR 25 at checkout for 25% off everything. If you're wanting high quality digital posters, check out Sonic Sloth Posters. The link is in the description. Today we're going to read something a little bit different. I found this book on the history of ghosts, spirits and the supernatural. And I thought it would be fun to have a look. It's more a reference book that looks at all of the historical documents and art and things around ghosts, spirits and the supernatural. So I hope you like it. We're starting with asking the ancestors, ancient world. Introduction. For millennia, humans have looked to the spirits of their ancestors and other supernatural beings for protection both in life and death. Although what is known about the spiritual beliefs of prehistoric peoples rests solely on the archaeological remains of past cultures, the images they left on cave walls and rocks, how they buried their dead, and how they constructed their ritual monuments in the landscape. Stone Age burial practices provide the earliest and most intimate sense of the idea of an afterlife. The laying out of bodies and inclusion of grave goods, such as drink and food, suggest that the dead were equipped for a journey to another place, but the archaeology reveals little about the nature of this other place. Ritual deposits in the ground, including sacrifices, hint at attempts to placate unknown gods or spirits. The first writing, from more than 5,000 years ago, sheds light on how spirit worlds were believed to work and the role of the ancestors within them. Ancient Mesopotamian cuneiform clay tablets reveal a world teeming with gods, demons, and the spirits of the dead. The living guarded themselves and their homes against such supernatural threats, and the Asipu, professional priest exorcists, were important figures in society. In the royal tombs of ancient Egypt, hieroglyphic texts and coloured wall paintings divulge a highly sophisticated relationship between the living and the dead, and the judgment of the soul by Osiris, god of the afterlife and underworld. The aristocracy and priesthood commissioned elaborate papyrus scrolls called the Book of the Coming Forth by Day, known today as the Book of the Dead, which contained a series of spells to protect the dead on their journey to the afterlife. Ancient Egyptian texts also included the first recorded ideas about the concept of the human soul. The ancient Egyptians believed that the soul had several constituent parts, one of which, the ib, was situated in the heart. 2 millennia later, ancient Greek philosopher-physicians such as Plato and Aristotle wrote at length about the nature of the soul and its location in the body. Writing developed in ancient Asian civilizations around 1200 BCE. Records from several centuries later show a preoccupation with ancestral spirits, while incantations written on bamboo slips suggest that, as in early Mesopotamia, ghosts and night demons were an everyday concern. Religious texts such as the Rig Veda and Upanishads of Hinduism include the first references to the concept of reincarnation. Instead of entering an afterlife, the immortal soul is believed to transmigrate to another body, human or animal, upon biological death. the time of the Western Han Dynasty, 206 BCE to 9 CE, in China and the Roman Empire, 27 BCE to 476 CE. In the West, the range of human ideas about death, the soul, and the afterlife that shaped the world's major religions had already been recorded. These early sources also provide clues to the beliefs that led prehistoric human ancestors to create their enigmatic monuments. I am noble, I am a spirit, I am equipped. O all you gods and all you spirits, prepare a path for me. Ancient Egyptian Book of the Dead, spell 9. Interesting. The birth of the afterlife, early human beliefs. Humans are unique as a species in their reverence for the physical remains of the dead and in the belief that some of a person's essence survives after death. Spiritual beliefs and burial practices emerged very early in human evolution, perhaps with the awareness that life must end and that, if only for reasons of hygiene, the dead must be kept separate from the living. At Sangir in Russia, a young boy and girl from this time period were found buried together with more than 10,000 ivory beads, a mammoth figurine, and a belt of fox teeth. Neolithic practices. The development of agriculture in the Neolithic period from around 10,000 BCE created more settled societies, and with them the first formal cemeteries and more complex religious beliefs. The increasing evidence of grave goods such as pottery, beads, agricultural implements, and flint arrowheads buried in Neolithic graves suggests that in these societies the deceased were believed to have needs beyond death that must be met. Similar evidence of a cult of the dead comes from Catalhoyuk in central Turkey between 6,000 and 5,000 BCE. There, skeletons and skulls were interned beneath mud brick houses, some of which were decorated with paintings of bulls, felines, and vultures. At about the same time, in China's Yangshao culture, Neolithic agriculturalists buried their dead in pit graves and later exhumed and reburied them. This practice may indicate that death and the passage into an afterlife was a process that was not considered to be completed with the first physical death. By the late Neolithic period, monumental architecture had appeared in Europe. Large megalithic structures such as Stonehenge in the UK and the stone alignments at Karnak in Brittany, France, appear to line up with cosmic bodies, suggesting a belief in the connection between cosmic bodies, the living bodies of worshippers, and the dead bodies of ancestors. Passage tombs such as Newgrange and Knowth in Ireland, dating from circa 3200 BCE, in which access to the burial chamber is gained through a narrow connecting passageway, provide a sense of transition into the afterlife, while the frequently found decoration of spirals, lozenges, and concentric circles may have been a way of altering consciousness to enter the domain of the dead. The importance of the dead was that they move through the cosmos. Like the sun, they were a dynamic element. David Lewis Williams and David Pearce, Inside the Neolithic Mind, 2005. So let's look at these pictures. This one's of a spirit mask found in a cave in Nahal Hamar, Israel. This and similar spirit masks from circa 7000 BCE are decorated with strips of asphalt on the back. Depicting a range of ages, the masks have cavities for eyes and mouth, suggesting that they may have been worn in the shamanic ceremonies. This one, Passage to the Underworld. The 40-metre or 130 feet long eastern passageway that leads into the interior of the tomb at Knowth Island is is the longest of its kind in Western Europe. Passage tombs reflect the sense of the underworld as a real place the dead must travel to. And this one, Afterlife Voyage, excavated from a cave in the Philippines and dating from circa 800 BCE. This manucal burial jar depicts the journey of the soul into the afterlife. It forms part of a tradition in which a body was exhumed and then reburied within a highly decorated container. My apologies for me butchering some of these words. So this is a ceramic jar containing the remains. Boatman steers boat containing the soul. This one's figure of the soul with folded arms, and carved prow of boat has eyes and mouth. Okay, just look at this one first. That's a great picture. Dressed in her finery, this reconstruction of the regalia of the Bad Durenberg shaman shows the special status deer antler headdress and pendant of boar's teeth and tusks in which she was buried. It is possible that the abnormality of the vertebrae in her neck and at the base of her skull led her to experience hallucinations. Artificial underworlds. Some megalithic tombs have roofless, semicircular courts, which may have been the site of rituals held in honour of the dead. Caves, the site of the earliest Paleolithic burials, continue to be revered as places where the underworld met the upper world. The underworld may have been seen as a physical place to which the dead went. At Aeoliotripa, Greece, people made pilgrimages to leave offerings at the mouth of the cave there, while at Carn Uni in Cornwall, UK, inhabitants of the Iron Age village created a fogao underground chamber in the 1st century BCE, a possible symbolic passageway into the afterlife. The sense of a journey into the land of the dead is an often repeated theme in early art, from the burial urns of the Philippines to the memorial picture stones of pre-Viking Scandinavia around 500 CE, which frequently depict ships. Ancestor spirits. The inhabitants of the earliest agricultural villages seem to have venerated ancestral spirits. At Ain Mahal in present-day Israel, dozens of bodies were buried close to the hearths of houses, perhaps signifying the need to keep the dead close to the living. At Ain Ghazal, a farming village of the Natufian culture in present-day Jordan, the heads of corpses were separated from the rest of the skeleton and covered in white plaster. The eyes were then inset with shells. Children's bodies were not treated in this way, suggesting that only adults could become ancestral spirits. In other places, the dead were commemorated with images as seen in blank figurines of cypress, or the decorative cremation urns produced by the Iron Age Pomeranian culture of northern Poland and Germany. The birth of shamanism. Little evidence has been found of the prehistoric practitioners of cults of the dead. Nevertheless, the common presence of animal imagery in burials and the interment of some corpses with special offerings of animal remains suggest a belief in shamanism, which may date back to pre-Neolithic times. The term shaman comes from the Evenki people of Siberia, but is used by scholars more generally to describe a broad set of beliefs and practices that center around spirit communication. At Bad Durenberg in Germany, the grave of a 30 to 40-year-old woman from around 7,000 BCE was found buried with an array of grave goods such as the bones and antlers of a deer. Analysis of her skeleton revealed a spinal malformation, and it is possible that this gave her a special status in the community, perhaps that of a shaman. Similarly, excavations in various Neolithic cemeteries across Europe have revealed a handful of bodies buried in seated positions, as opposed to the usual flat or flexed with bent knees position. These individuals' roles in life seem to have demanded special treatment in death. By accessing the spirit world while alive, such shamans, the first priests, must have given people reason to hope for an afterlife. Without written records, however, their specific beliefs regarding the supernatural remain a mystery. You travel in other worlds on behalf of your people with the help of your spirit animal. Harold Miller, director of the State Museum of Prehistory, Halle, Germany, on the role of the Bad Nuremberg Shaman, 2023. So this one is a plank figure. Flat rectangular clay figurines like this one adorned with geometric patterns indicating jewelry and clothing are unique to the Middle Bronze Age, 2000 to 1600 BCE, in Cyprus. Each figure may have been created to represent the spirit of a single dead person. Spirit face, it's pretty cute. Dating from circa 600 to 200 BCE, the burial urns of the Pomeranian culture are topped with hat-like lids and decorated with faces. Each urn has a unique face, which possibly represents the deceased within. Prehistoric rituals. In the absence of written records, it is difficult for archaeologists to ascertain the exact purpose and meaning of many of the finds from early human societies. Without evidence to the contrary, objects are often assumed to have been used in rituals, yet some clearly indicate their role in early human spiritual beliefs, as well as afterlife beliefs and the practice of ancestor veneration. Shamanistic elements emerged in the prehistoric period as an early aspect of religion and saw people attempting to engage with spirits in the natural world. These objects, dating from the Neolithic period to the Iron Age, are believed to have served a shamanic, talismanic, or otherwise spirit-related function. So let's look at these pictures. This ivory statuette from Brno, Czech Republic, dates from 29,000 to 25,000 years ago. Such figures were believed to capture the spirit of a person, animal, or disease. This one, a cow-like figure from China's Neolithic Hongshan culture. This dates from 4700 to 2920 BCE. It was probably worn as a pendant around a shaman's neck with the jade believed to provide protection. Oh, so that's the whole statue, and the arm are previously attached to the statue. This idol from Vinca, Serbia, is one of thousands of anthropomorphic Neolithic figures discovered there, dating from around 4000 BCE. It is thought to have had a ritual purpose. This one. Sandstone heads such as this one were excavated by the river at Lepenski Vir in Serbia. Dating from 5000 BCE, they are thought to depict either river spirits or the dead. And this one, a skull circa 7000 BCE from Ain Ghazal in Jordan, has been covered with plaster and had its eye sockets filled with shells, an early example of ancestor skull veneration. Wow. And then down here we've got this necklace of wolf's teeth were buried with a man 4,000 years ago in Upton, Lovell, UK. The grave also contained a ceremonial cloak, animal bones and tools, suggesting the man was both a metalworker and a shaman. This human figure was found with 8 others on an altar at a stone circle in Zagra, Malta, dating from 3000 to 2400 BCE. The figures are thought to have belonged to a shaman. And this one. Ranelagh mace head is a piece of carved flint discovered in an Irish passage tomb and dates from 3300 to 2800 BCE. It may have been used in a funerary ritual. This female dogu figure dates from Japan's final Jomon period, 1000 to 300 BCE. Many similar examples have been found with deliberate breaks, leading experts to suggest they may have been used in healing rituals. A shaman's face is thought to be depicted on this urn lid from China's Yangshao culture, 2600 to 2300 BCE. The lid's red decorations suggest that shamans might have tattooed or painted their bodies with animal or geometric symbols. And this one, jade kongs such as this one were ritual objects in Neolithic China. This one from 2400 BCE was found in a circle of kongs surrounding the deceased in a tomb at Sedan in Jiangsu province. This is going to be interesting. As you've probably worked out, I'm Australian from my accent. Spirits of the Dreamtime. First Australian beliefs. The belief systems of first Australian peoples are incredibly diverse, and more than 250 languages are spoken by Indigenous peoples across the vast continent. However, they share in common the concept of the Dreamtime. This term, coined by European anthropologists, describes a world inhabited by creation spirits and ancestral beings who descended to Earth to create its landscape of rivers, trees, waterways, and deserts, and to give life to animals, plants, and humans. Within this worldview, all things, landscapes, peoples, and spirits are interlinked, and the Dreamtime remains present always. A person's spirit exists before birth and is reborn after death, and each person has a life spirit, one of the Dreamtime spirits, which helps and guides them. Wangini and Mimi spirits. Among the Nagarinyin, Warora, and Warrnambool peoples of the Western Kimberley, Dreamtime spirits include the Wangini. According to legend, these sky beings came down from the Milky Way and created all life. They are particularly associated with clouds, rivers, and other water features, and produce rain and child seeds, the source of human life. Among the peoples of Arnhem Land, sacred land in Australia's Northern Territory, Mimi spirits, with their spindly bodies, are said to be shy creatures who live in caves and rock crevices during the day. In the Dreamtime, they taught useful skills to the Indigenous people, such as hunting, cooking kangaroo meat on the fire, fishing, weaving, and the performance of ceremonial songs and dances. The Mimis also created rock art, which became the primary medium through which first Australians depicted images of the Dreamtime spirits and their stories. Mimis are generally believed to be benevolent, only creating mischief if their pets, animals such as echidna, goanna, and rock wallabies, are harmed. Warning of danger. Just as the desert and the tropical regions contain natural perils, so they are home to less benevolent beings. In the salt lakes of the Pilbara region of the Western Desert lurk the legendary Nagayan Nangalku, monstrous beings with sharp teeth and talon-like fingernails who prey on unwary Matu people. Further north, the Anangu people fear the Mamu. With their large protruding eyes and fangs that could rip a person to shreds. In Walpiri country, the hairy Pangalangu allegedly use their claws to kill babies. All these legends about dangerous spirits are associated with the features of particular landscapes, and the stories therefore serve as a reminder to Indigenous peoples, and in particular their children, that the environment in which they live, if not respected, could prove to be perilous. Those who lose dreaming are lost. this 1971 work by Pintupi artist Johnny Warankula Tuchupurula is called Old Man's Fighting Dreaming and shows three ancestor figures. Dreamtime art often depicts ancestral spirits and their stories. Teacher spirits, painted by the Indigenous artist Jimmy Midjaw, who came from Crocker Island, northeast of Darwin. This work uses ochre on bark to show three Mimi spirits with their spindly torsos and flowing limbs. Spirits in the Caves. This ancient first Australian rock art from the Kimberley Desert shows wanginas with white faces, large black eyes, and a type of halo. The faces are depicted without mouths, and this is said to stop them from producing too much rain. The Land of No Return, Mesopotamian Spirits and Demons. Over a time period of more than 3,000 years, from circa 4000 BCE, many cultures inhabited ancient Mesopotamia, part of modern Southwest Asia, the Middle East. Despite their differences, these cultures, among them the Sumerians, Akkadians, Babylonians, and Assyrians, shared beliefs about the underworld and the spirits that lived there. According to these beliefs, the essential spirit of a person, called the Giddim in Sumerian and the Etemu in Akkadian, survived death. It then embarked on a perilous journey through demon-infested lands to the seven gates of the underworld. There the spirit was admitted by the gatekeeper Bidu to be judged by 600 Anunnaki, those who see, before being assigned a place among the dead. Place of darkness. Ancient Mesopotamians believed the underworld was a real location, a subterranean place of darkness and pale shadows. It had a definite hierarchy, and the place assigned to the dead was determined not by whether they had been virtuous or wicked when alive, but according to their previous social position. The judgment of the deceased, marked in a book by Belit Seri, the infernal scribe, could consign the Giddim or Etemu to an eternity of misery, drinking stagnant water and eating dust, or for dead rulers such as Ur-Namu, king of Ur, to one of comparative ease. It was deemed vital that the dead be given offerings of food and wine. This task was usually performed by the eldest son of the deceased, or for the rulers of Mesopotamian cities such as Ur or Nippur, by priests in the temples they had endowed. Without offerings, it was believed the dead would starve in the afterlife and be reduced, be their former kings, priests, or merchants, to the condition of beggars. No way out. Presiding over the host of spirits was Eresh Kegel, the goddess of death. From her palace of Ganzir, she made sure that no dead person crossed back to the upper world. For this reason, her realm was known as Ursetlatari, the land of no return. None but a handful of heroes visited the underworld and came back. There was said to be a ladder in the city of Uruk that led there, but to venture safely into Eresh Kegel's domain, a person must not wear clean clothes, carry a weapon, or make any kind of noise. Even Inanna, sister of Eresh Kegel and goddess of love, who came to Ganzir to witness the funeral of her brother-in-law, barely escaped. According to legend, Inanna was stripped of her magical powers in the underworld and died after sitting on her sister's throne. She was rescued by her servants, but was only allowed to leave the underworld to rejoin the living if she promised to send others in her place. These substitutes were Geshtinana, the fertility goddess, and Dumuzid, the shepherd god. Their absence from the world of the living, each for half the year, was thought to explain the progression of the seasons. Demonic neighbours. As well as housing the spirits of dead people, the land of no return was the haunt of demonic beings. Most terrifying among these were the Gala, the messengers of Ereshkigal, whose duty it was to drag the souls of the unwilling dead down into the underworld. There was also Lamashtu, a demon goddess with the head of a lion, donkey's teeth, and blood-stained hands, who was said to prey on pregnant women, babies, and infants. Pazuzu, the bird-winged lord of the wind demons, was both a destructive and protective force, as he had the power to level houses and expel other demons. Warding off evil, while the ancient Mesopotamians sometimes blamed ailments such as headaches or seizures, epilepsy, on demonic possession, these afflictions were also seen as the work of Giddim or Etemu, whom Ereshkigal had allowed to return to their former homes in the land of the living. They came as ghosts to right some wrong done to them in life, or because their burial rites had been faulty or the proper offerings had not been made. To guard against spirit hauntings and the malevolent influence of demons, Mesopotamians carried amulets engraved either with dogs, of which demons and ghosts were believed to be afraid, or with images of Pazuzu. They also employed magical ointments and special knots which were believed to bind the haunting spirit and render it powerless. Exorcising spirits. If amulets and other measures failed to prevent ailments caused by malicious beings, those affected might consult an asipu. This specialist exorcist would come armed with spells such as an incantation to Gula, goddess of health, to drive out the bad spirit. More extreme measures included making an image of a sick person, sprinkling it with incense, and feeding it with a cake baked in ashes, intending symbolically to resurrect and cure the patient. Finally, if the asipu knew the identity of the ghost, they might make an image of this spirit, write the name on it, and then break the statue's feet and place a dog's tooth in its mouth. Now, unable to wander or speak, the ghost would be forced back to the land of no return. Let's just look at these pictures. This one. Naked and powerless, also known as Ishtar, Ereshkigal's sister Inanna, depicted on this Babylonian relief from circa 1750 BCE, was one of the few to visit the underworld and return. At each gate she had to take off one piece of magical clothing, so she entered powerless. Power to protect the most feared of demons, Lamashtu, was blamed for blighting crops, polluting rivers, causing miscarriages, and feeding off babies' blood. Amulets like this, showing her standing on a donkey and suckling a jackal and wild pig, were seen as a way of binding her power. Lord of the Wind, depicted here with a dog-like face and wings, Pazuzu brought winds of famine and pestilence, but his power also protected against other demons, so statues like this and amulets were common. Driving out Lamashtu, Pazuzu, the Wind Lord, holds this bronze plaque, 934 to 612 BCE, which shows an exorcism. The second row from the top depicts the 7 Gala demons, while the third shows the sick person in bed as priests of the water god Ea drive out the demon. Lamashtu is at the bottom clutching 2 snakes.